My name is Mat Larkin, and I'm an author. So my new book is called The Chameleon Thief. It's the story of what happens when best friends break up. So we have a group of best friends. One of them one day suddenly declares that she's the whole group's worst enemy. And so what happens when they discover that their worst enemy is now in deep, deep trouble and they have to choose whether to save her? And the question they have to answer is, how far would you go to save your worst enemy? I've had a few different publications. I've been a writer for a lot of years, but in children's books, I can tell you that I've written this book in the same universe called The Orchard Underground. The Orchard Underground actually happens after the events of The Chameleon Thief and continues the adventures of our superhero here, Attica Stone. Here she is here, and here she is here as well, having more adventures. And before that, I was actually one of the last people to write on the series Zach Power, where I wrote the book Shock Music. And that was my very first children's book that I ever got to write. I was really happy to do that one. I'm published by Hardie Grant Children's Publishing. The idea for The Orchard Underground came when I was watching my son grow up, and there was a great deal of fun in the kind of kid world where you can have fun and there's magic and things are exciting and adventurous. And then there's a more boring adult world with maths and buildings and all the boring things you have to do as an adult. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if there was a kid world that was magical? Let's put it underground. And then there's the boring adult world above ground. And then what happens when those hit each other? They collide and only one can win. What happens next? Like, how can you make those two worlds fit together, or can they? And that was the original idea. And then I just thought it would be fun to have a big orchard underground and some monsters and exciting kids. And that's the fun part. Right at the end of the Orchard Underground, somebody asks our hero, Attica Stone, who are you? What are you doing in this town? Because she's arrived in the town and she's causing mayhem. And she hasn't really told anyone who she is. And she says that she's had to leave her hometown because there was a petting zoo at her school and they were being rough with a chameleon, and so she wanted to rescue the chameleon. She grabbed it, she ran away with it, she got in big trouble, and she had to leave her town. Now, I realized very quickly that that story is not true. Attica wasn't telling the truth. She says she stole a chameleon, but she didn't. Why? And that was the start of the idea for The Chameleon Thief. Why is Attica pretending that she stole a chameleon if she didn't steal a chameleon? Or maybe she did. A lucky dip question. Let's find out. This is terrifying in the extreme. Have you ever won a prize of any description, writing excluded? So a non-writing prize? Yes. The very first and proudest prize I ever won was the most improved bowler at Park Orchards Cricket Club in 1985. And the reason I won the award was because at the start of the year I couldn't bowl, and at the end of the year I could. That made me the most improved because everyone else already knew how to do it. So I won an award for being the worst at something who got better. I think that's a pretty good award. Yes, well, I'm a full-time writer. So I take a lot of freelance work, and yeah, I write my novels in between doing paid work that pays me in the short term. Novels pay you in the long term, but freelance work pays you in the short term. And I've been doing that now on and off for 17 years, but full-time now for the past 4 or 5. So many people help you to get your books over the finish line. I always complain that films have credits, TV shows have credits, albums have credits if you look on Spotify, but books only have one name on the front. And if I don't want to, I don't have to mention anybody else ever. And that's wrong because lots and lots of people help you to write a book. So I have an editor, Luna Sue, and she is a genius. Without her, this story, all of my stories, would be no good at all. Beyond her, Marisa Pintado, my publisher, is a brilliant editor and publisher. Beyond her, there are designers. Beyond them, there are my son, Sam, who is a genius. All my friends, I have a writers group who help me. They read drafts. Lots of people have given me great ideas and good criticism. You have to have good criticism if you want to be a writer, because otherwise you cling to your bad ideas. You need people to tell you when your ideas aren't really good enough yet. And take that advice, run with it, try something new, keep trying. Lots and lots of people will help you to make your story the best it can be. I think it was around 1982 in Collins Booksellers in Eastland, Ringwood. There's a specific day. So I was in a bookshop and I can remember looking through the shelves and I would run my fingers along all the spines of the books. And for the first time ever, I really realized that that book with a person's name on it is a person who wrote that story, and their book was written, published, and put on a shelf for people to buy. And I immediately thought to myself, I want one of those. I was 8 years old and I sprang into action, and 35 years later, I got my first book published. Just like that. First drafts are the most terrifying time. I'm about to finish a first draft right now. And you have to be very choosy about who you show your first drafts to. I show my first draft to my son, Sam, who is very, very good at stories. Not just because he's my son, but because he's very good at them. One day he'll outshine me, there's no question about it. I also show them to my writers group. So I have a group of people and we all share each other our first drafts. And they are all awful. And there's a good reason for that. Your first draft should be awful, but it should be awful in a really good way. I always tell people, make your first draft suck in an interesting way, because if it's too polished, you've done too much work. First draft shouldn't be that good. It should have all the great ideas in it, but they shouldn't quite work yet. And then you find your trusted people that you show them to. So in my case, my son, my writers group, and my editor, those are the people who I show my first drafts to. The biggest tip I can give to any writer is do not stop. If you really, really want this and you're willing to have to do really bad jobs and take any work you can get and not really ever make a great deal of money, then this is the job for you. So don't stop. It's dispiriting, it's discouraging, it takes a long time. But all you need is the right break. And if the right break comes, then the fact that you didn't stop means that you're there for it and that you can take it, run with it, and give it your best shot. You still may not get there, but at least you'll give it your best shot and you'll know you tried your hardest. I think that's honestly the biggest tip I can give anyone who isn't published yet. Do not stop. You never know. So in writing, especially in first drafts, the thing that I most dread is the part where I'm almost at the end of the first draft and my character finally tells me what the book is really about. There's usually some emotional core or secret to the story, and I didn't know it was coming. I was having fun with monsters and kids and puzzles, etc. And then suddenly a scene happens and I start crying. And that's the bit where I think, I have to write this scene and it really hurts and it's going to be awful. But you have to push through that bit because that's the best bit in the whole book if you get it right. In editing, look, there's always the bit where your editor sends a report back to you and tells you in the nicest, most constructive possible way everything that is wrong with your book. And that's a real ego moment. That's the don't stop moment where you have to say, all right, I feel like a fool. I feel like I'm not good at this. And then also there's the defiance where you say, actually, no, this is fine. My book is good. I wrote a really good book. How dare you? How absolutely dare you? That's the moment where you have to stop, wait 2 or 3 days. And my process usually goes, wait 2 or 3 days, actually realize the ideas are good ideas. The criticism is valid. It will make your book so much better. 2 or 3 more days pass, and then I email back acknowledging that I've had some brilliant new ideas and that they're all mine and that they were always mine. And then I'm willing to get on with the work. I'm terribly selfish. Lucky dip. Let's have a lucky dip question. So let's see what this one is. These are all at random. Have you ever had a writing-related disaster? What happened? The first one that comes to mind is actually not from my professional career, but when I was writing an essay in year 12 on a big old-fashioned computer with a big box that sat on a desk with a big button that went click when you turned it on and didn't warn you critically when you turned it off. And I was writing with my feet up on my desk and my keyboard in my lap, and I was writing away quite happily. And I leaned forward to save my 2,000-word essay, and my foot did that and pressed the button and turned the computer off. And the computer just turned off because that's what computers did back then. It didn't give you it didn't say, are you sure you want to ruin your life's work? It just did it for you. And so I had to completely start again, and there was nothing I can do about it. In my professional career, a writing-related disaster. I mean, I've got things badly wrong at times. I don't think I've had a complete catastrophe yet. Now it feels like I'm summoning one. I'm going to manifest a catastrophe. Thanks very much. I do, but I'm very careful. Early on, when I was first trying to write children's books, I thought, I know what I'll do. The book that I was thinking of at the time is very similar to what I've heard Coraline by Neil Gaiman is like. And I've written 2,000, 3,000 words of this book, which is loads. So I'll just read Coraline. And then I read Coraline, and then I deleted the document, and then I stopped writing children's things for about 3 years because it was so good that I had no... it suddenly it hammered home to me how I wasn't ready quite yet. The solution was to keep reading, just read loads more and then keep writing. Don't stop. Write loads, read loads, keep doing more. Now I'm a bit careful because I feel like if I read something that's too close to what I think I'm writing right now, then I might convince myself it's already been done and not do it. So I try and read things that are firstly children's literature that's very different to what I'm reading, and then adult books or non-fiction books or any other kinds of books that are similar to what I'm writing. So I'm currently writing a book that has a ghostly, monstrous visitation in it. So I'm reading a lot of histories of ghosts and ghost stories for grown-ups, not for children, because I'm writing a story for children, but I want it to be influenced by lots of different things. So I try and read what will influence me, but not make me self-conscious or worried that I'm not good enough. Ooh, right now I am reading. Let me show you. This is The Secret of Hummingbird House by Julianne Negri. I'm actually rereading it. I've read it already. It's a fantastic book. It happens to have the same cover illustrator as my cover, but it's a really beautiful mystery and a lovely friendship and adventure, excitement, magic, so many great things. I strongly recommend it. I go out of my way to read pretty widely. I don't read a lot of literary fiction because I'm just not that, I don't have that kind of brain. I like stuff to happen. And I like big, exciting, that's just who I am. I really like big, exciting stuff. I like an explosion now and then, and you don't get that so much in literature. So I read essentially whatever I please. At university, I was worried that I wasn't reading the right books, and I tried to read the Western canon of old white dead men from England, and I got really bored really quickly. And I learned the lesson that if you just read things that you're interested in, you will be feeding your brain and heading more towards the kind of person that you want to be as a writer and as a person. Don't let anyone tell you what to read. Read anything, even if you think it's junk or other people think it's junk. Just read it. Reading junk is not a problem. It may turn out not to be. Well, I'm very close to finishing. I'm at the terrifying stage of the first draft of my third book, which is a sequel to both of those previous books, The Chameleon Thief and The Orchard Underground. The title is Secret. Everything else about it is secret. I can't tell you anything more about that. I may have already said too much. After that, who knows? The sky's the limit. But at the moment, I'm really concentrated on that third book. It's scary. It's interesting. No, that's all I'm going to tell you about it. It's very, very exciting, and I can't wait to show everyone. I am delighted to be here. Thank you so much for having me at The Leaf.